now by Conservative MP and member of the ERG, Pauline Latham. Hello to you, Ms Latham. Why is proroguing Parliament a good idea?
Well, we need a Queen's speech. We have had one when Theresa May came in and she put out her programme. Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister now. He's not going to enact the things that Theresa May wanted. He needs his own Queen's speech to be able to put forward in Parliament what we're going to be legislating for, as well as Brexit.
Okay, and that's why he's proroguing Parliament, is it?
Yes.
It's not
This
though,
is the longest Parliament session that I can remember. And I mean, it's hugely long. The last longest one was a lot less than this. And we need a fresh legislative programme.
It's not why he's doing it though, is it?
Well, some people may see it differently, but we're not losing many days of Parliament. We still can debate Brexit. We've been debating Brexit for 3 years. There's not a lot more that can be said. The thing is, if he brings back a deal after the next summit in Brussels, then we will be able to debate that and get a bill through before the end of October the 31st.
So it is about Brexit then?
Well, Brexit is obviously a topical question, and we're going to be debating that ad nauseum again, I think, certainly for the next 2 weeks in Parliament. I'm sure the Speaker will find ways that we can debate it, as he has done over the last 3 years. I think we need to get on with other things as well. Brexit is really important for this country. I would like a deal, and I hope Boris is going to be able to bring a deal in front of Parliament. Then we can debate that deal. If, however, he doesn't get a deal, we will have to leave Europe on the 31st of October without a deal. But that's not the ideal situation.
Yeah, how totally inappropriate to drag a 94-year-old woman who's on her holidays into politics. How totally inappropriate to get Her Majesty to sign a privy order because Boris doesn't think he can get his deal over the line otherwise.
Well, he hasn't got a deal at the moment, and I think the Queen would take exception to the way you've described her, a 94-year-old woman.
That's exactly what she is.
On her holidays.
She is.
I mean, she is on her holidays. Lots of us are in recess and we're not working to the same extent that we would be normally. But we are only talking about a few days of parliamentary time, and she knows that that is her role. She has to advise the Prime Minister, and I'm sure they will have had a very lengthy discussion whilst he was talking to her. But I'm not sure that anybody can overrule the Queen and stop this prorogation happening, never mind the people who want to remain in Europe and have wanted to remain the whole of the time.
The Queen is 94 and she was on her holidays. Nothing offensive at all about what I said there. As far as antagonising middle of the road Tories is concerned, that's exactly what Boris Johnson has done now.
Why do you think that?
Why do you think he hasn't?
I'm not getting that from members of the Tory party in my area.
Okay, I'm guessing they voted to leave.
Well, my area did vote to leave, as the majority of the country voted to leave, and that's what Boris Johnson and the government are trying to deliver for the British people.
Okay. Let me give you another example. What about the former Chancellor, Philip Hammond? He says it's a constitutional outrage. He's a Conservative.
Well, he is a Conservative, we think, but also he's always wanted to remain. He's never hidden that fact, and he did all he could as Chancellor to stop us leaving, and that is against the will of the British people, and I think he should examine his conscience, as so should others who are trying to stop anything, a deal or no deal, going through.
Well, that's the point. You need to reunite the party after Brexit has happened. Whether people voted leave or remain, Boris Johnson needs them to unite behind him ahead of a general election. He's a middle-of-the-road Tory, and he says it's a constitutional outrage.
Well, I don't think you can classify Philip Hammond as a middle-of-the-road Tory. I would say he's certainly not a middle-of-the-road Tory. I would say he is a Remainer through and through, and that's not middle of the road.
Okay, so you have to be a Brexit supporter in order to be a Conservative?
No, you don't have to. There's room for every opinion, but we need, once a decision has been made by the party, but in this case by the country, we need to deliver it for the country. We told the country we would abide by their decision. They decided we should leave, and that's what we're trying to deliver, and that's what Boris is trying to do. And he would prefer, as most of us would, to leave with a deal. But he has to get that
Stewart,
deal.
he's not very happy either.
Who isn't very happy? Boris.
Rory Stewart, very different people.
Rory Stewart. Yes, but don't forget he stood for the leadership and he didn't make it. So he's not in the cabinet anymore because he said he wouldn't work with Boris. Now, you make your decisions and sometimes you are unhappy. And I'm sorry, I like Rory, but I'm sorry if he's unhappy. But he made that decision that he couldn't work with Boris, so he's not going to be a cabinet member.
What about John Bercow, the Speaker? He says it's a constitutional outrage.
Well, John Bercow is John Bercow, and I don't think that he is supposed to be neutral. As the Speaker, you are not supposed to be taking sides, and he has very deliberately taken sides on this right the way through, and he is also a Remainer.
Yeah, but he is a Conservative, although he is neutral at the moment. His job is to explain to MPs what the Constitution, such as it is, not necessarily a written Constitution, here in the United Kingdom is. And he says this is a constitutional outrage. Isn't that his job to point that out?
He can point it out, but we are talking about a Queen's speech where we regularly prorogue Parliament. It's usually in the autumn. This is not that unusual, and we need a new mandate for Boris Johnson to go forward with his own legislative programme, because he's not going to take Theresa May's legislative programme forward, and we were really spending a lot of time in Parliament debating not very much and putting through fairly inconsequential bills just to fill the time before. Now we have got some real meat that Boris Johnson wants to show the public and show the MPs what we're going to do in the next session of Parliament. There's nothing unusual in that.
And what about the sovereignty of Parliament? Where do you stand on that?
The sovereignty of it, we need to get the sovereignty back. We have lost a lot of that to Brussels, and that is the whole crux of the deal. We need to get that back, and that's what people voted for in the country.
Good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us on the programme. Let's bring in our constitutional commentator, Alistair Bruce, joining us from